OMG, I'm so scared about talking to this professor, but I have to do it. I wish somebody could give me some help. Please. Talking to a professor is vital to your success in college for a number of different reasons, but I'll just give you only a couple. First of all, you have to talk to your professor because at some point you're going to miss assignment, or you're going to have an assignment that you don't understand, or you're going to wonder why you weren't as successful on a test or project as you could have been. Another reason you want to talk to your professors is because now that you're in college, you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. What that means is you have to learn how to stand up for yourself, to defend yourself, but at the same time, take responsibility for who you are. You're not going to have your mom or dad calling up a college professor saying, why did my son or daughter get blah, blah, blah on this test or this assignment? If that happens, you have a serious problem on your hands because either your parents don't think you've grown up enough to handle things, or you haven't grown up enough to tell your parents, look, I've got this, I can handle it. Really, we're all in this together. We want to help you as much as we possibly can. The problem that we run into sometimes is that maybe you don't have the skills for college level work. In some cases, you need to talk to your professor because you're really interested in the material that he or she is teaching and you want to learn more about it. We love what we deal with. We love our discipline in our area. So what we want to do is basically invite you into what we're doing. And talking to your professor is really one of the key ways of learning actively. Okay, so one thing you definitely want to do when you're talking to a professor is be respectful. And that doesn't mean walk into the professor's office worshiping the professor and having this look of awe, this sense of awe and admiration on your face, because that really doesn't cut it. Go into the conversation with a professor and treat it like it is a conversation because you want to talk to this professor. You're not making demands, so that's one don't. Don't make demands, don't gripe, don't whine, don't. You want to go in and you want to talk to this professor in a very respectful way because the professor is usually going to be much older than you are. Even if the person is not older than you are, at the very least, we are more educated than you are. Be respectful when you're talking to that person. I don't feel too bad now, but I still have some doubts. What other ideas you got? Okay, so another thing you want to do when you talk to your professor is you want to be humble. Don't go into your meeting with your professor and say, but I made straight A's in high school, because what I've done or what other professors have done is look around and go, you're in college now. This isn't high school anymore. You're not going to get by in college by charming a professor for a better grade. The grades that you get here, you have to earn. And it doesn't matter how brilliant or intelligent your teachers thought you were in high school, if you can't produce high quality work here, then you're not all that intelligent. Here, we look for proof. You have to prove that you're actually intelligent. And so come into the meetings with your professor and just remember that, but also go in making sure that you know exactly what it is that you want to have done, what you want to accomplish with your meeting with a professor. So you should have some kind of purpose. What goals do you have in mind? What do you want to achieve from this interview or this conversation, this discussion, this office visit with your professor? Having a purpose will make that meeting and that session so much more productive and so much more effective rather than just going in not knowing what you want to cover, not knowing what questions you want to ask. Something else you want to do when you're talking to a professor is you want to be attentive. And basically what that means is you should be ready to take notes when you're meeting with this person, and not just mental notes if you want to have an iPad out. And I've had some students who brought their tablets with them and they basically typed in notes as we were talking. Some people use a notepad. I personally use a notepad because that's the way I take notes best, whether I'm in a meeting with a huge group of people or just an individual meeting with someone else, because I never know when I'm going to need to write down something that I need to remember or want to remember. So when a student comes in and asks me some serious questions about the class or about projects or whatever the situation is, if that student is not writing something down or at least taking notes some way, even audio recording the session, if the student is not taking notes, then I know that that student really doesn't care about being successful. Don't ask your professors ever how you can make a better grade. The better professors will actually guide you and help you because they're going to see through your question and realize that you're not really asking how to make a better grade, but that you're asking how to learn the material better. Some professors might give you the following response. You want a better grade? Probably if you do better on tests and the assignments, then you'll get a better grade. But these are things that you can talk to the professor about. Don't ask how to make a better grade. When you go to a professor, never ask that. Instead ask, how can I improve my mastery of your material? Those are the kind of questions you can even ask your professor, how did you learn this material when you were an undergraduate, when you were a first-year student? What techniques and study strategies did you use? You can even ask your professor about teaching styles and learning styles. What do you think your teaching style is? That way you're moving the conversation away from grades, but towards the material and the discipline and the professor's teaching philosophy or teaching style and technique. You really don't want to tell your professor some stuff. Now, some things maybe you trust a person to understand and deal with, but you kind of want to be careful with giving some really, really personal bits of information. Remember, your professor, as much as you might feel like you know the person from class, is still a stranger. So you can't necessarily share everything that you want to in the world with this person. Be very careful. I got this with no problem at all. That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. But now let's see what happens.
Hey Bobby, come on in. What can I do for you today?